you doing?
Doing well. So are you on like hands-free, speakerphone?
Yeah, I'm on the Bluetooth I'm in the Bluetooth system in my car.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be high quality enough, but I'll send you the recording so you can hear it. Can you? This may not be possible because we're making an actual phone call, but you couldn't do Skype over it, right?
Skype? That wouldn't change the microphone.
Well, but a cell phone call usually sounds lower quality because it's like more compressed, I guess, than if it's over the data network.
The voice over IP thing or whatever.
Yeah, it's just something I've noticed, but not a big deal. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, and then the other thing is people are texting, so I'm gonna have these dings because I'm on the phone recording, and then if anybody texts me, it dings in the audio. I don't know how to separate that.
I also thought about that as far as road noise goes.
Yeah,
right?
the road noise.
Signal.
Yeah, sure. It'll be there, but it won't. It's not too bad. I don't think. We'll see.
Gotcha.
And plus, anybody listening is probably driving, so they'll just think it's their own car. Why is the road exceptionally loud today?
Yeah, exactly, right? They're like, my Mercedes usually doesn't sound like this. Because that's our target audience, right?
That is, of course, the target audience, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know who else would listen, unless you're driving a luxury car. Yeah. So, how's it been going?
It's been good. Just going through the grind, enjoying total lack of preparedness and consistency in messaging.
Are you saying that publicly? You got to be careful what you say.
Oh, damn, that's right. Oh, yeah, no, you can't say that out loud.
We'll pull that out. Don't worry.
That's my own personal gripe. Their mask requirements are the most convoluted insanity ever, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, well, you can talk about it. We'll cut all this out. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just they're like, yeah. It's a lot of details, and it's like, wait, but you're just contradicted yourself, and they're like, who's enforcing this? Because it says it will be enforced, but then they're like, use the proper channels, and they don't ever tell us who the proper channels are. And I'm not going to call the police. I'm not going to call the police on a student for not wearing a mask, so I don't know.
Has anybody ever done a study on, what was I had a fleeting thought last night about this, actually, and then I got distracted and forgot to follow up, but I wondered, what was it? Has anybody done any research to determine, if, to compare messaging in different countries and behavior? So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
there's a guy at Georgia Southern that does this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So because to me the least successful thing to do is to shame people for not wearing masks.
Yeah, it creates two groups.
Right. Which is more successful.
That's right.
It'll probably happen again. Gosh, I got to figure out how to isolate everything to what we're doing in these times.
Well, if we did a Zoom call?
Maybe.
That's better or worse than Skype. The problem is
either way.
I go through two kind of data dead zones.
Oh, okay. So the call might be the best up.
Yeah, and then I also go through one right between and that other town.
It's okay. You don't need to give specifics.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, man.
It's all right. We haven't talked about any of this.
This is
we'll eventually we'll say our names probably, but maybe only first names. I don't know. We got to be harder to find than Andrew.
Yeah. But an hour of cyber sleuthing and you find his homestead.
That's right. But yeah. So anyway, I had that thought. Like, what's the most effective way for I guess, without sounding like for the government to control people, but what I'm meaning is, if you're in public health and your goal is to get people to follow whatever guidelines you're laying out, what is the most effective method psychologically, I wonder?
Well, so the first thing they teach you is that your intervention has to be culturally acceptable, and if it's not, then it's not a viable intervention.
Ooh, so
so
let's pause there. Are masks culturally acceptable in the U.S.? I would argue no.
Yeah, I would say that as well. But I mean, that's also the first rule that most public health people ignore. Much like abortion in South American or Central American countries, like that's not culturally acceptable, but it's still something that is written about all the time in literature.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, or so you had to have they call them the gatekeepers, right? So you get some sort of community involvement, because it doesn't matter how effective the intervention is, it won't be taken up if there's not, I guess, trust. So have you ever heard of PrEP?
What did you call
it? PrEP, the prophylactic
no.
HIV treatment.
No.
So if you're a high-risk person and you take PrEP, your probability of getting an HIV infection is effectively zero as long as you take the medication correctly.
Wow.
So they were trying, it's super effective, right? So they were trying that in a group of prostitutes in, I'm going to forget the country. It was somewhere over in Asia.
Okay.
And they got zero community buy-in. So then this rumor started that these pills were really to make you sterile and to, do all these other things. So the trial pretty much got canceled because they didn't bring in or, weren't transparent enough with I won't say transparent enough with the participants. They kind of let the message
in the
get
community, right? Like, I feel like you have this outside organization, and it feels very like, why are they coming over here to study us? So
exactly.
I don't understand that. Or what are they? They're testing their drugs on us because they don't value us.
Exactly. Yeah. No. All those things happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
So the first thing is it has to be culturally acceptable, and then if it's not, then you need to find another intervention, and then go from there. But sometimes there isn't another option.
Sure.
So you just mitigate.
Yeah. So you do the best that you can. So if you're trying to, if your goal is something that's not culturally acceptable, which loosely masks are probably not, how do you motivate people the best? You're saying use parenting tricks of creating trust.
Yeah.
Basically,
exactly.
That's what you're talking about. You're talking about a form of parenting, I think. It's tricking them into trusting you, and then this sounds terrible. I don't mean it that way, but it sounds like you're.
Well, yeah, so
it's funny how people talk about this sort of thing. It's like everyone they treat it as if everyone's an idiot, and maybe everyone is, but sometimes I'm like, can you give anybody any credit?
For a little bit of self-determination. I don't know. I suffer from the, oh my God, everyone's an idiot myself. But then I also look at myself and I'm like, oh, well, I'm an idiot about these topics, and therefore I will not make, based on how I feel, decisions for, certain things.
Well, yeah, but you're also like, do you think you do a good job of that, or you think, because I think I could tell myself that all day long, but I don't know if I would actually do a good job of that.
I do a good job with that with high consequence things, but if I'm building something, I'm like, well, this seems like it'll work. I have no idea.
Yeah, it looks good enough. So it should keep the rain off the excavator. It'll be fine.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's not going to fall on me tomorrow.
The wind's not going to blow until next Thursday.
Exactly. But I mean, other things like with like finance or insurance stuff or whatever, I do kind of outsource a lot of the thinking about that to other people. I'm like, somebody else has thought about this a really long time. Let me see what they think.
Well, yeah. But still, you make the decision. You're
Well,
just
yeah, I
relying
mean,
upon that gets me to expert advice. What is that even? What does that even mean anymore? Have you
oh,
noticed that? Like,
I I don't value expert advice. I value data and transparently collected data,
yeah,
right? So I
yeah.
mean,
If someone could walk you through the data that they're drawing upon, then that would help you make that decision.
exactly, yeah. Because
That's,
someone said so is BS, and 99% of the time, that's like how our government operates.
yeah. Well, oh, speaking of, this is somewhat related, but I sent you the fall schedule. I'm sorry, the plan for our county's public school system to go back to in person from virtual. They're starting virtual this school year, and the it cracked me up because there was an AJC article that said um, that the county had released a plan to go back to in person, which the county is calling it face to face, but it's going to require
Yeah.
masks. So why would you ever call it face to face? That cracks me up. You know?
In person. Oh,
Yeah.
well, you want to hear the big 180, like mind
Yeah.
boggler as far as being an educator?
Sure. What's up?
So, at the education industry that I work in, so my classroom can hold 40 people, but with social distancing, it can hold 20. So that's 19 plus me,
Right.
which means
So
there's two students I can't rotate in on alternate days, right?
wait, what? There are two students that you cannot rotate
So I
in?
can, yeah, because that means there's 38 people that are eligible to come in one day, or, I have 3 days a week, but that's 38, or 19, 19, 19, one of those days. So there's two people that I have to constantly be like, well, you can't come this day either. You have to come every other Wednesday.
Why? Why wouldn't they
Well,
give you
because
the right capacity for the space?
it's not available, right? So if
Can
they
you
put me in
just
a
tell your
50 room,
students that, hey, I'm going to be here, don't come to class, I will broadcast it, and we can have discussion?
well, now
Over.
you can't say that. I'm going to say that I'm doing a hyperflex class, which means you can take it online,
Yeah.
asynchronously, like whenever you want,
Oh, nice.
or you can tune into my live lecture broadcast that will happen each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you can come in person with the caveat that once my room hits that 19% capacity, I'm closing the door, and that's it. And some people were like, well, why don't you have a schedule? And I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and ask people their name, right? Like, every time someone walks in the door, I'm like, what's your name? Are you on
Oh,
today's list?
gosh. Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I didn't
I'm
even
not
think
going
about
to
that.
wait
Yeah.
15 minutes of class time trying to enforce some rotating
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And they
insanity.
have to understand that because that's just a waste of everyone's time.
You'd think that's, I don't know. That's what everybody's like, oh, do a rotating schedule where you tell these people. I'm like, well, how do you enforce that? And then, some kid shows up and says, this is my day, and another kid says, it's not my day. I need a secretary to run my classes.
Yeah. That's not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to
I don't
have
know.
at least 10% of the class that'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to watch it online.
Oh, I think it'll be way more than 10%.
Well, that's why I'm saying
I
at
think,
least 10%.
yeah.
So I don't even think any of this will be an issue. But I guess you have to
Yeah.
plan for it, and if it is an issue, then you bar the door.
Yep. Yeah, and it just no learning for you today.
You have to take volunteers from the audience of who this person could sit next to. That's the overcapacity.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know.
Do you
It's
think,
very.
off the record, do you think it's like even effective to do that? Like, say it has a capacity. I mean, how are you determining capacities by 6 feet? But, well, if somebody's in there coughing, they're still indoors.
Well, here's where that convoluted mask requirement comes in, right? So they say a mask is only required when social distancing is not available.
Ugh.
But technically, when you're in the classroom with that reduced capacity, you are meeting the CDC guideline for social distancing. Even though it's a group greater than 10, we're trapped in an enclosed room for an hour at a time.
Yeah.
I don't see it as being socially. So then do you tell a student that takes their mask off once they're in the class that, hey, no, you put that back on? And if they say no, do I call the people academic honor code on them? Or do I call the police? Or
Call the police.
Enforcement so nebulous yet.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I would never do that. That's asinine, but it's still like it leaves us in this insane position.
Oh yeah.
Of like, I should not be thinking about these things. I should be thinking about how to convey information to my students and doing research.
Right.
Like,
right.
Why am I wasting 10 hours a week trying to administer a class 15 different ways?
Huh.
Well,
yeah.
3 different ways, but I don't know.
Yeah. So what's the mortality rate? What are we looking at here?
Like overall across all age groups?
Across. Across overall. Let's start there.
Yeah, I think it was. I haven't looked in a while because I kind of have become desensitized. But the last time I looked, it was like just hovering around the 1% mark.
And is mortality really what the main concern is?
I would argue not. I would say that the ADRS, that's for someone in their 40s or 50s, that's going to be a lifelong disability, and also an insanely increased risk of dying of pneumonias in subsequent years. Like, so we haven't even. The
That's
mortality
true.
is the thing that catches the news.
I didn't think about that.
So I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying if somebody gets it now and recovers, then they have that reduced lung function for the rest of their life, or for at least a considerable period before
10 to 15 years.
Yeah, wow.
If you don't die of pneumonia before that.
Right. So then they're really susceptible to falling ill and dying. Yeah.
In subsequent years. Yeah, so we'll see, I think, a bump in years among that same high-risk age group, the people that got it and, might have been hospitalized or ventilated, survived, but then they just lack their lung function is literally can't prevent future infections. And that also doesn't account people, like, so this disease is so bizarre, like causing strokes.
Mm-hmm.
You have a stroke when you're 50 years old. That's a lifelong thing that you had to deal with.
Wow.
So I don't know why that's not catching as much attention in the news media. It's all about the death. And it's like, yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's the worst outcome.
Right.
But there's other super societal costing outcomes that are also occurring.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, not being able to taste your food for a long period of time would suck also. So
but it sounds like that's mostly temporary, so that's a good thing, I think.
Mostly. I have a student whose friend, it's been 2 months and she cannot taste or smell anything.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, you were saying they had determined... Did they determine the mechanism exactly for that, or do they know?
No, it's just some neurologic thing. It's very bizarre.
Yeah. My
Same
friend...
thing with COVID toes.
Yeah, I've heard of that, where your toes turn black. It's almost like you got frostbite. So.
Exactly, yeah. And also the renal and kidney damage that occurs, right? So, like, people aren't talking about that either. That's, welcome to dialysis.
Really? I haven't heard of that.
I mean, it's one of the more rare ones, but it's definitely, you survive, but you have a, greatly altered, and I'm going to use the quality of life, right? Even though that's a super subjective thing and it annoys me most of the time, but, if you go from one quality of life down, you notice the difference. If you always have the same quality of life, you don't notice it, you'll adapt eventually, but those are hard adjustments to make.
Oh, sure. That makes sense. Yeah, I couldn't imagine having to, yeah, that's terrible. But, oh, man. Yeah, a friend of mine, she had it and was, she's young and healthy and, but still was knocked down for, 4 weeks. I think she was suffering with chills and fever, and I mean, she still worked, which I thought was kind of incredible. But she was just run down, and then lost her taste and smell and all of that, and then slowly gained it back. But she said it was different. Like stuff just it was like when she lost her taste and smell, food had like occasionally had like a metallic taste, which was I could just only imagine that would be horrible. And then
yeah, right.
But then I guess she started getting it back, but she says it's just not. I think she was a super taster before, and now she's what I would consider just normal or my level. So it's like, so it could have permanently damaged her taste, but she's at least getting some of it back. I don't know. It's to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, no. It's like I said, super interesting, and also super kind of bizarre.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you've kept me way more sane through all of this, because I actually have an expert to bounce, like basically you're filtering the nonsense or the information that's being fed to me, and I'm like, should I be worried about this, or is this a thing, or so that's helped a lot. I don't even know why we didn't think about recording those conversations. That would have been a smart thing to do.
Smart idea.
But maybe
probably.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of content to talk about in the coming weeks and months. I saw some.
I think there's an election happening or something, maybe.
Yeah. So my big joke, and this will probably offend a bunch of people, but my big joke is, I kind of want to see Biden win just so I can see a bunch of Republicans start freaking out about the virus.
Right?
Like I wondered if it would flip-flop if the administration changed, if it would just like the media would stop talking about it, and then all these Republicans would start freaking out,
like wear your mask every day.
Yeah, like all that kind of generalization.
I mean, I don't see why it would not change. I mean, everybody freaks out about Bill Clinton's ties to Epstein, and Fox News edits out Trump with Epstein, and that what I can't remember that woman's name. His girlfriend or whatever.
Oh yeah, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
So I mean it's the same thing. Or like when Trump agreed with people about the income equality, like the next week, 2 super liberal media outlets were like, let's not overemphasize mom and pop stores. They don't do a good job offering. But it's like, oh wait, now you're for corporations? Like, wait, what's happening?
We're in the upside down. We're in the during. We all like to look back at the before, but we're in the during right now. We'll wait for the after.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yep.
It's like the Member Berries from South Park. I don't know if you're allowed to mention other shows, but
Sure.
Member Win.
we aren't making any money, so it won't matter what we say.
More for prosperity, or not prosperity, posterity than prosperity.
Yeah, we'll guarantee that we won't get any sponsorship. That's for sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Straight from the beginning. But anyway, yeah. So I haven't even paid attention to time. How are we doing? We're at 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm turning left on my the road in front of my office.
Okay, I was interrupting you, so you didn't say where you were.
Oh yeah. So almost there. But
yeah, I had a totally different topic, but we can save that for next time. And
right? Yeah, there you go.
We'll end this here, but stay on, and I'll